Somehow, my daughters fell in love with Formula One. I don't know how or why, but I'm not arguing. They may not know wheel, but does anyone?
Hi, and welcome to We Don't Know Wheel F1. I'm Anne.
And I'm Grace.
And I'm Sarah.
And we're three sisters, one friend. Is that rude? Should I say four sisters?
It's a
Is
little
four
rude
sisters
either
offensive
way.
to Maddie, who fell in love with Formula One, and now we make a podcast so that we can talk about it every race day.
Okay, so Vegas.
Who stayed up?
I did
I
not.
watched the starting laps, and then when I saw Leclerc overtake, I turned it off and went to sleep, and I called it there.
I think that was wise. I kind of wish I had done that. I don't know. It was kind of a boring race, and I'm getting over a cold. And I had picked Shelly up from the airport because she's in town. And so we were in my bed, and I had taken Sudafed PM so that I'm like, like through the whole race, waiting for something interesting to happen, and nothing ever did. I don't know.
I had purposely decided beforehand, like I'm not gonna stay up to watch the whole thing, so I didn't even start it. And when I woke up the next morning, I we went to brunch before we watched the race, and I had the one thing I saw on my phone was a news alert from F1 about Max becoming a four-time world champion, which was like in a way the least surprising and like the spoiler that I was least upset about, even though it is like in a way the biggest deal, but not actually. I don't know.
It was
I
very
was very fine with being like, oh, okay, I guess Max did well, and the rest of the race was still fun to watch.
So for listeners, obviously we're American, and this is what our third. Is it the third
We're
American?
actually American.
Did you know that?
Would you believe?
No, it's only the second. We only have two in America, right? Two
Three.
races.
We
She
don't
doesn't know
know.
wheel.
I do know
Miami, Austin, and Vegas.
Miami. Okay.
I don't claim
Vegas
Miami.
is not great. It's winter there,
Right.
basically. Like that's why they're cold, and I hate.
It's like the people who
the
planned it
Vegas.
heard it's in a desert, and they were like, "Oh,
It'll be hot.
We'll do it at night.
Better do it in the fall. It's gonna be hot." And they've never been to Vegas, and they don't.
They've never been to a
They don't
desert.
realize that by 5 p.m. it's already quite cool outside.
In November.
Please don't hate me for this hot take, but I kind of like Vegas. Like,
Oh,
I'm
cancel
sorry.
her.
I have been there
The
once in
race
my
is
life.
good.
Do you guys remember when we went?
I'm not saying I like Vegas the city. I'm saying like I like Vegas the
Track
race.
is shaped like a
pig.
swine.
And
I
guess
love
what?
it. It's a good track. You can't deny it. The overtaking is good.
It's creepy. You can't see fans. You don't know. Like it's
I
literally
agree with
like
that.
I think what really
Drivers
annoys
don't like
me.
it. You can tell the drivers aren't having fun.
the fans. They're not real fans.
You think that?
Yes, I think that.
They're okay.
It's
Well,
all
the drivers are supposedly getting high from all of the marijuana smoke around
I
the
like
place
that.
the whole
They don't
time
like that
anyway.
either. They're very clean-cut boys.
Under
I've
the
never
infant-
smelled weed before.
What is the stinky skunk smell?
Colapinto. He's so great. We took a test right now. I don't think he would come back negative. That's what he said.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like what really annoys me about the whole Vegas American fan experience is the fact that it's cool enough in Vegas that they could run the race at 5 p.m. or they could probably run it earlier in the day in November. But they do it at midnight so that European fans can wake up and watch the race in the morning. That I think was a big factor in the timing, and it really irks me.
I do agree with Anne on this, but I think I do like that it's a night race. Like it wouldn't be very like what's the point of doing it in Vegas if it's not a night race?
Yeah, but you could do a
Exactly.
night race at like 6 or 7 p.m.
And I agree with that.
But do it in the desert.
That's why they shouldn't have a race in Vegas.
Why?
Because of what you just said.
I don't know where you're going with this. I'm saying
Maybe.
they should do it in the desert. the street circuit in Vegas is just not
Do it
not
out
it.
in the Bonneville Salt Flats.
I think
Have
that
it in the background. I don't know.
in the background.
Yeah, have the sphere in the background. Like I would prefer that. You can see it from space. You could definitely see it if you had it like out in the desert. Anyways, it's fine. Everyone, Sarah and I, we watched together and everyone was slacking in the sense of like the people doing the graphics, like that's been kind of shoddy
Mm.
A
recently.
little sleepy.
The
What
TV direction,
I
I
think
felt
they're
like
using
for
AI.
the first, yeah, the TV direction for the first third of the race, I felt like was quite bad. Where like big stuff would happen and overtakes would happen, and they wouldn't show
Yeah.
replays.
Okay, hot take. A lot of times the cities are in charge of the TV direction, which is why there's so much variation. But I'm actually pretty sure that Vegas F1 is in charge of the TV.
Oh, it was wonderful. I didn't think anything could be improved.
Stop. Also, I
Sarah
do-
doesn't want to
okay.
get canceled by the F1
I-
overlords.
I like the track for racing. I actually think it's like a fun view. I think it could be on the level with Singapore.
No.
But my big issue, I agree, is that it looks so weird. Like you can't see the fans at all. Like
Yeah.
they
I
should
think,
have
like,
made.
they're trying to make it look like a video game or something.
I don't like that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like make it so I can see the fans. I want like open it up so you can see people sitting at restaurants watching the race. That
No,
sounds.
they don't want anybody to watch
I
the race.
know.
No people. There's no windows. There's nothing.
The first year in Vegas, they were thinking about like blocking hotels or like figuring out like F1 was literally like, how do we block this? And you can't.
It's
Like they're
icky.
so
It's
petty.
icky.
So
I saw a video that apparently if while the racing was happening or practice or quality or whatever, if you stopped and like watched from a spot where you were not in general admission and you didn't have a ticket, you could be given a like ticket, a fine by police for loitering. And
Just
so
another-
people were like riding on escalators because then you were like not stopped, but you could from the escalator see the cars going by on track.
So here's my question. Because on the one hand, it's like it is normal at a street race or even a circuit, whatever. I don't know, wheel. For there to be areas that have blocked vision as a way to be like crowd control, like on all the bridges. They always block the view because they don't want people standing on the bridge. It's not safe, whatever. But I think a good street race and a good circuit has lots of areas where GA can see that are not blocked.
I mean, the difference between Budapest and Montreal was huge in what could be seen for just like GA as you're walking on the track. And I loved Budapest where you could just see the track everywhere. And that was one of the, to me, the big bummers about the track in Montreal. So much of it was blocked off.
But
I
you
think
could walk
you're-
more around Montreal, I
Mhm.
felt like. I felt like
Yeah,
I was able to
Budapest, it
walk
was only
around the whole
half
thing.
the circuit you could walk
Yeah.
around. The other half you couldn't even
Yeah.
get to.
There's ups and downs.
Yeah.
So qualifying, who watched it? Thoughts?
I
I
watched
watched
it,
the
but
10
not
minute.
live.
I watched it, but not live. Yes, I watched it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, Q1 was just sad. But
But
I am
That-
so sorry, Anne.
I'm ready for this whole saga to just be done. I was ready for it to be done months ago. I'm ready for
there's the
Checo to
driving.
not drive for Red Bull anymore because I'm tired of like just wishing and hoping he could do better.
I think I don't know what's going on. I've heard like different things from like they can't pay him out or they have a deal with this third party and they need Checo. I don't know what's going on, but now I'm getting the feeling like he's actually going to stay at Red Bull.
Forever.
Forever. I don't know, but I did hear, I think it was like a snippet from an interview with, I don't think it was Helmet, but someone from Red Bull was like, yes, we're happy Max won the championship, but we needed the bonus. Like our workers
Yeah, that
wanted
was
the
Helmet.
bonus because the world, we're not getting,
Because their
Well, I
bonuses
mean, like,
depend
the
on the
Red Bull workers are
constructors
yeah, they're not
championship.
gonna get it. And people in the comments were like, Checo will pay for it. Like, basically, you know, insinuating they lost it because of him and he will pay them. So
Whoa.
it was, yeah, I just feel like at this point, it's like they would have done it, right? Maybe they're actually keeping him and it's just like,
Well, and it's crazy how much worse he was doing compared to Danny. And Danny gets dropped.
Yeah, he
All
doesn't have
money.
money.
It's all about
Yeah,
the
he doesn't
money.
have money. Well, he has money, but
I think Danny could bring in some sponsorship like that.
this is what
Not maybe sponsor, yes, but
not a country.
hold hard cash.
A
I don't
country?
know.
I
don't
mean,
think-
essentially, Danny brought America.
Okay, yeah. But Americans,
And
you know,
even
we're
you
not really.
couldn't fight that. Okay, yeah.
I feel like F1 has become bigger than Daniel Ricciardo in America. And
I
I
agree.
don't
There we
think
go.
that Danny holds a majority of Formula One fans in America anymore.
No.
I think the first year or two of Drive to Survive becoming really popular, absolutely. But I don't think anymore.
Yeah. I think you're
I'm
right.
not gonna.
Well, breaking news, there's going to be an 11th team in 2026.
Cadillac.
22 cars on the grid?
Yeah.
Okay, so talk. Well, will they all be on the grid?
Top 20 qualified?
I don't know.
I think it's up to the FIA to decide that. I bet they'll let all 22 drive. I can't think of a reason why they wouldn't.
Thank God.
What did you say, Sarah?
It's up to the FIA and God for that decision. I'm hoping they bring Danny. I mean, it's kind of they're back by Andretti.
Danny and Franco.
Are they
Yeah,
back
that's-
already?
Well,
So it's not going to be called Andretti, but it is essentially the Andretti team under a different name of Cadillac / GM.
because that's American, right? So that's where I'm like, wait, is this an American team or is it? I don't know what Andretti. Are they Italian? Can't tell me.
Andretti's American.
Yeah.
They are.
He's
Yeah.
big in IndyCar.
Yeah, well, he I think it's the like one driver who became both a F1 world champion and a IndyCar champion. But I know that like he's lived in the States for a
We're gonna
long,
get
long time,
comments on
and the
this.
son like is because there's a father and a son, Michael and Mario, and I think the father was born not in the United States.
I
Don't
saw
worry
one
about
of them at the Long Beach
commenting.
Grand Prix.
You don't have to comment to correct us. Our dad will text us personally.
will.
Don't worry.
to
And
correct
berate
us.
us.
So don't
If he watches this episode, which isn't it.
So all that to say, American team,
Yeah.
American driver, Danny Rick. So
And Franco.
and Franco. Perfect.
He is American.
He is.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
is. Well, he is.
So
I was
that's
trying to remember if South America was a part of, the Americas, because I'm a ding dong.
Well, you're doing better than Helmut Marko.
Ooh. Oh.
get him. So that's exciting, and I am excited to see who they bring up. I mean, it was funny because, Anne, you sent that like Mick Schumacher
Oh God.
thing. It was me.
Did you know that was a burn, Ann? Or were you
Yes,
that's
I
serious?
thought it was funny.
No, that was not nice.
I didn't know you were such a hater.
I'm not a
Both sides
hater.
of us.
I just thought it was a funny tweet.
No,
Certified hater.
no shade from us to the Schumacher family. I was
Shelley's like, I divest myself from
I
this.
love
I
I
mean,
don't
me
wanna be
sending it
associated
does
with
not
this
mean that
narrative.
I agree with the tweet or I endorse the tweet. It means I thought it was funny and you would
Yeah.
Okay.
find amusement.
I'm sad that Mercedes is really like dragging him out, and I do want him in an F1 car. That's me.
Really?
Yep.
Is that Mercedes' fault?
I don't know what's going on, but I know that
Reserve driver for them.
yeah, but like I'm just annoyed. He's had his chance. He obviously was not showing up, but
I think there are too many young drivers who've been
now
showing
they're
a
giving
lot
it to
more
Kimmy. Yeah, I'm excited
promise.
for Kimmy, but I'm also like, dang, Mick is gonna have to wait longer, like to even get a chance to get a seat.
Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think he's missed his chance to come back.
Certified.
Sorry. This is nothing against Mick personally. I think the window has been kind of slowly closing.
Let's
Miss that
move
window.
on.
He's like 22 years old.
Not
Yes.
in terms of his age, in terms of like interest from teams.
His ability to perform. Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, let's move on. This is how I watched Quali. I watched it live, but on the West Coast. So it was like 10 p.m., which is very chill. But I was going to bed, so I had it like set up and I was watching it and then I fell asleep and then I woke up and they were yelling because of Checo being out in Q1. I'm like, oh crap. And then I fell back asleep and then I woke up Franco's crash, which is horrific.
Yes, it
They
was.
kept replaying it, and I don't know. I was like half dazed, but I was confused because they were like, "Yeah, he crashed," and they kept showing stuff, but I'm like, "That's a freaking like concrete wall." Like they're not saying. I don't know. They made it sound like really like, "Oh yeah, he just crashed, and now we're taking a break," but it was like
It was a big crash.
he could have gotten
Yeah.
hurt real bad.
Well, I
And
think when it's live like that, they intentionally
calm.
they won't show it. They don't say much until they are like confirmed that the driver's okay.
Well, and he did get on the radio right away and say like, "I'm okay."
I
And
know, but you can
we saw
still
him get
be
out of the
injured
car.
after, Anne.
This is what happened. They were like, he's okay. And then the safety car eventually got out there. I felt like it took a while. And then they're like, he might not race tomorrow. And then they're like, he's fine. After now, they're like, he drove with a concussion. I was just like,
Yeah.
of course he
I
did.
didn't
Like,
see
why?
that.
Why is he
This
like
is
a
why-
level 5 or something?
Shout
Who
out
is it that
to
said
Wendy. There needs to be a drivers
Union.
That's
There is a drivers union. What are you
well,
talking
it's
about?
not doing its job. Boo.
Is it Williams that said that he had driven with a concussion, or was it somebody else? Because haven't seen it.
There was something about how
Sarah
he's
has no idea.
yeah.
Listen to us.
I'm the same. Listen to me. He had a concussion and he was told you cannot talk to anybody about this.
But
And that
okay,
was
who is saying that he had a concussion and he can't talk to anybody?
Franco.
Let's
And
let me
he's-
look.
Yeah, pull it up.
We'll
I'm
look
going
it
to
up.
X my
We're gonna find a
source.
reputable source.
But I mean, how could you not crash into a concrete wall and not have like
Yeah.
some sort of
50
concussion?
G's of force. Yeah, it was not a good weekend for Franco.
No. I couldn't believe that the Williams mechanics got that car put back together for the race. That
I
was
can't believe that
impressive.
Alex DNF'd.
I know. Unbelievable.
Poor Alex.
Very rough. It's giving James Vowles saying, I don't care about 2023. I don't care about 2024. I don't care about 2025. And you're like, oh, it feels a little too real, dude.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Pierre
Mm,
of
yeah.
going from qualifying third on merit
Brutal.
to your engine blowing up.
was rough.
Like, oh,
It was kind
Yeah.
of crazy at
so
the end of
rough.
Ollie where they were obviously like time is going down and they had like all these drivers come up, right? It was like Charles is P1 and then Carlos was P1 and then it got to I think George. And they were like kind of celebrating, and then in the background, it was like, what's Pierre doing here? They're like, go to a video of him like cheering, and they're like, he's here too. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, afterthought, very much.
He surprised us all.
He did.
Surprised us
Yeah.
all.
Christ America.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like Vegas is kind of fun because cold track is interesting. Street circuits do take I like street circuits. They're interesting. I get like I don't want everything to be a street circuit, but you have to admit it's fun. It's like it
Mhm.
makes the reality of racing much more interesting as well compared to the tracks where it's like you just cut the chicane, you know, whatever. And there's not really like there's not as big of a like negative when you're not on the track.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
It's
think
not
that
like-
the super long straight in Vegas is like, it's interesting. It just shakes things up. Like it's good to have tracks where it's like the high speed matters, and it's good to have tracks where the cornering matters.
Speaking of the super long straight, Did you all thoroughly enjoy the ridiculous Red Bull rear wing DIY project?
I kind of did. I
How
thought
did
I kind of
Yeah.
maybe Red
loved it.
Bull
And it
return to
was
their roots, make them be scrappy. That's what they
They
are.
should-
They're an energy
they
drink.
should just give
Right.
them one piece of carbon fiber. Each team gets one piece, and that's all they have for the season.
in my
That's what you
mind-
make your car out of.
No, in my mind, I want it to be like every weekend, something is taken away from each team. They have to figure out how to get it done.
Let's gamify Formula One. Make it a scavenger hunt. We stole somebody's toolbox. We scrambled your code.
We hid one of your main engineers. Go find him.
Stop.
Hunger Games-esque.
Oh yeah, that
But-
would be
Gave
good.
driver a laxative an hour before the race.
Sarah, that's
Leave
so
the
awful.
driver
Who said they pooped their pants? Yuki.
Yuki when he ran over the sign in the pit lane.
Oh yeah.
That's a save.
Oh, Yuki.
Also, like this race I agree that there were points. I think even Carlos said in the also obsessed with the cooldown car and the way that they make the three drivers shove in together.
It's so awkward.
It's incredible.
Lewis looked just like, get me out of here. The whole
Like I haven't shared a back seat in 12 years.
Yeah, that is what it was giving.
I'm sitting with these two.
It did.
Give that.
It was not convincing me that him and George get along.
No.
And I feel like there was one point where Carlos said something where he was like, it was like a lot happened, but then also kind of boring at some points. Like
It was kind of boring.
When
but
Carlos
also
is
a lot
doing,
did
like,
happen.
strategy stuff, I'm like, he's bored. He's sitting in there being like, okay, we can do this, I can do that. Like he was, giving.
Pit me now, pit me now, pit me now,
Oh,
pit me now.
You're not ready. I have
There
to
was-
swerve out of the pit. Like,
There was some real chaos with pitting during this race.
that's
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, because
Esteban.
Esteban,
And did you guys hear about Lance Stroll apparently didn't have a working radio after the first lap? And so he said during a post-race interview, he somehow tried to like indicate to his team that he was going to come in, and he came in and no one was ready for him because he didn't have a working radio
that's what happened.
for Lance.
I love
No,
that.
because I remember seeing him in the corner of the broadcast, and it was like just an Aston Martin sitting in the pit lane. It's like, what's
going on?
happening in the corner?
but riddle me this. Who didn't realize that he had no radio? Like he was not responding.
They
And
should
they
have been
never
ready
thought,
for
like,
him to
get
come
out.
in.
They have
at
signs
any
that they're
point.
allowed to
For
use
that.
to be like pit. And it's not like, come on, what are we doing? Get the sign out. It doesn't
That
make
was-
any sense
that
to
was-
me.
That was their mess around for the week from Formula One. I mean,
From
sometimes
FIA and
that's
God.
what you get.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
So I pulled up the Franco quote. He spoke to ESPN. He said, I had a concussion. They told me I couldn't speak with anyone and sent me back to the hotel. It's true, I tell you. He told ESPN Latin. So
Oh, Franco.
he,
I love that he's like, they said I couldn't talk to anybody, but they didn't say I couldn't
tell
talk to you in Spanish.
in public to everyone else. To Spain. I couldn't talk to Spain.
I just said English.
Spain and a third of the world.
I love him out.
Charlie, let's have a debate.
No,
Charles v. Carlos.
I sent
Let's hear your opening statement.
Yeah.
I sent a video. Okay, this is the caveat.
This is the opening statement.
Honestly, I am like, I'm a Charles girl, but I'm not like hardcore, like some of the crazies are.
She's a hardcore Oscar girly.
I am. I told Sarah, like, I'm blinded by Oscar. I'm like, I'm mad they gave him the 5-second situation. They couldn't even show us the footage of him doing the false start. So I was mad.
I thought they did. They showed that his tire was on the line.
Which means he shouldn't have gotten a penalty,
basically.
is what the commentators were saying.
Maybe they
There was
changed it.
there was a portion where they're like, let's go
He served
see
it.
it. And it was like this footage of them like far away, blurry at the start, and then they cut away. I'm like, somebody's slacking. So with Charles, I'm really like,
I mean, it's slacking that no one told me during the broadcast that Lance had no radio. That's hilarious
That's true.
content.
Yes.
I told you, Las
They
Vegas
didn't
is not good.
notice.
He's invisible. Oops. So with this whole Charles situation, I am like, it's the end of the year. I get it. Like, you're gonna race. I want to see that. I am not opposed to someone not listening to team orders. But I saw a video on TikTok that said that Charles's message after the race, which was like kind of crazy. We don't hear that much emotion from him all the time. I was like, I think I am willing enough to believe that, yeah, he was talking about the Ferrari team and his frustration with trusting them and listening to their plans and how they'll help him when it does get him screwed over. But I also believe he was pissed at Carlos and was like, did you tell him in Spanish that he doesn't
Well, because I
overtake
have heard other people say
Ooh.
like what, and I think Fred agreed. Fred Vasseur was like, yes, that was a miscommunication because Charles was told that Carlos would not pass him, and Carlos was told, don't pressure him. And so he was like, I'm not pressuring him. I'm just sliding right past him.
just gonna go make it kill him quick. No pressure at all.
I think okay, I've also seen all the people basically being like, he gave Max DRS for the like 2 laps until Charles couldn't which kept Charles from passing Max and then passing Carlos. I did find one comment from someone saying, if you actually look at his data, because you can look at the data of
Yeah,
like
all there.
what they're doing with their throttle and coast and gas. I know about cars.
Science.
He was doing the same thing he'd done all race. Like he didn't intentionally slow down to keep Max in his DRS. If you look at the data, like he was doing the same percentage on the throttle.
And this is what I will say to any drivers. If it's whatever team orders and you're not happy about it, then beat them. Like that's
I know.
I'm like, okay, if you're upset, just like pass him then.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
obviously there's a lot of things that maybe strategy wise like set them up
Say it
bad,
on
but I'm
track.
like, just beat them. I said the same thing, more biased about like Lando and Oscar when like they had to actually switch last race, where I'm like, Lando, just catch up to him then. Like seriously, if you want it, catch up.
Well, and I think Shelly sent the video in the chat of this girl on TikTok basically being like, and now it's time for Charles to get mad and I'm ready. And it's like, it's true. And like, one, I also like as a Carlos girly, but I think as a F1 fan, I'm like, it should shock no one that someone who essentially got dropped from his team that he thought he was going to re-sign with has no loyalty to the team or his teammate. Like that's not surprising, especially in the third to last race.
Yes.
Like, come
Yeah,
on.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their whole point was basically like Carlos always does what Carlos thinks will work, and Charles listens to Ferrari, and
It's
Carlos benefits from that. And it's like, well, yeah, like I'm sorry. I think it makes me think of Silverstone 2022,
Yeah.
where they were like Carlos like hold Hamilton back 10 car lengths from
Ridiculous.
Charles, and Carlos was like, I can't do that, and then he just passed him. And it's
Which,
like I get the like, well, he's not being a good teammate, but it's also like he's
Ferrari
basically
put
like,
them in
Ferrari,
that
this is a
situation.
bad strategy, so I'm not gonna engage in it because it's gonna cost us both the potential win.
Yeah. No. And I am for the boys being friends. Like I eat that all up for like all teams. So it does kind of like on the track, I'm like, yeah, fight it out. But afterwards, I'm like, you're still friends, right? And so like I'm scared for next year of like Lewis and Charles. because it's gonna be
And I think it's gonna be very
crazy.
cute.
I don't know, and I
No.
don't want to pick. Basically, I'm like, I don't want to pick sides. Don't.
Yeah.
But also,
And
let's
they-
talk about like Lewis never engages in like any PR.
You're right.
Yeah, you're
Now
right.
he's going to Ferrari, the like PR machine.
Yeah. Well, actually, Lewis will speak his mind occasionally about
Mhm.
things and be honest.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just don't know what to expect. I think if they are making him number one, Lewis, I'm like, what is that going to do to Charles? I'm so scared. Is he going to come out
I think
like,
Ferrari's going to walk into the season
No.
saying and trying to act like we don't have a number one driver and trying to give them both equal resources and equal shot at the championship and just see who does better. Because I also think, I mean, next year is a enormous unknown in terms of how every team is going to be doing because it's so close. Red Bull does not have their built-in advantage anymore. And I mean, McLaren hasn't been doing as well recently. So it like Mercedes could like stage a comeback. That's totally conceivable. It, like there are 4 teams who have a legitimate shot of winning the constructors and winning the drivers' championship next year. And so I don't think any of the top teams should walk into the season with one driver as their number one driver, except for Max.
oh, shoot, man.
I mean, he's destroyed Checo in the
Checo is
last
number
4 years.
10.
I think Max has earned that.
Okay, yeah. I think all that
Speaking-
to say is that I'm ready for the fight. I'm excited about next year and all the people, but my fangirl heart is scared for the relationships and choices that I will have to make.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm scared about that.
It's gonna be
Okay.
a season for the ages. That's my prediction.
I liked Max going up to Zach Brown and saying, "Look, I won the championship and not the fastest car on the grid."
I didn't see that.
I also loved seeing the videos of him getting progressively drunker through the evening with the various interviews he was doing.
That's great.
I
Yeah,
also-
right on a beer.
There's a clip that I saw where the PR person that goes around with him to the various interviews, you could like just barely see her. He was already holding a Heineken, and you could like just barely see her hand him another.
Whoa. I did.
I was like, those have to be 0.0
funny.
Heinekens, right?
No,
He also had 2.
he won in America, so he gets to actually be drinking, I think.
And he,
Wait,
well,
what
at
is-
one point he
oh,
had 2
like
different
compared
gin
to if he
tonics
was
his
in-
hands.
A country where they can't celebrate with alcohol.
Yeah.
Know that.
Yeah.
I loved the little moment of Max and Lando. I thought that was really fun and sweet.
I liked the moment of Max and Fernando.
I know.
So cute. Love it.
I love. Well, that's okay. Sorry, Sarah, and this is not a Lewis hate. I love Lewis, but it is like interesting. I think obviously Fernando's also at a different point in his career. Like Fernando is well past when he was in
Fun
the peak.
uncle.
Yeah, he's like Brad Pitt. No.
Oh, don't bring him up here. Don't bring Sunny Hayes into this.
Brad
Sunny
Pitt
Hayes?
free
Fake?
podcast.
Happened?
Race.
Bad. Was that the race or was that qualifying?
I think it was.
Him fainting?
I think it was. I don't know actually.
It was
And
during the
was
race,
like he
and
got out of the car and then he fainted. So like
It was.
what
it
happened
was
to him?
qualifying because they said Joshua, the second driver, would have to.
they probably had told him on the radio that his son died or something.
Stop.
He just pulled over.
Okay, stop. I will say the comments are funny because they're like, Apex doesn't have a reserve driver because they're like, only Joshua will drive tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, they're not really. I hate that.
Not really with
They're
it.
not following to any of the rules. I'm just like,
This
you
movie is gonna
Are
be
They can't
so
afford a reserve
bad.
driver.
just, he's fine. Anyways, Fernando is the fun uncle. And yeah, his moment with Max was sweet.
Mhm.
Little Maxie.
Were you gonna say something else,
just-
Grace?
I appreciate that he has like come into that role of being so supportive for the younger drivers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's no Seb.
There's
Yeah.
no Seb. Seb has really left the
Also, I am here for all the analysis of what Charles is like with each teammate. It's unhinged.
Yeah, it is. I love it. I'm a big Verstappen, so I love seeing like Max and Charles, and they're like tame, but then Max and Lando like on the grid is like he's gonna kill him. I love it. Grace, you had sent a video about gambling in the chat.
Who watched Drew Gooden this week?
I did. I watched it today. He did a video about sports betting, which was really interesting, really well done. And one of the big like international, not sports betting, but just gambling apps is Stake and Kick, which are
Which, okay,
What
do I understand this correctly? Stake, kick, whatever, is like based in the Caribbean where there are essentially no laws on online betting. So
Yes.
then you from your phone can online bet wherever you are. It is really unhinged and disturbing.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And they do,
You
there's
can like play slots on your phone.
of people like they'll just lose like $1 million while they're streaming just doing like slots, and but then it's like Stake gave them that money to bet with just so that
Like
people
that.
will watch it. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Well, kind of, there's like this viral thing where Drake had posted on his story,
Yes.
I was gonna say,
big bet on Charles, and said, added him, and been like, hope you do well or something. I don't know.
I guess I didn't realize, I'm like too dense to have realized that sports betting had like changed legality and
Mhm.
blah blah blah, and intimately aware.
I was curious about the sports betting because this is off topic, but like when other things are legalized like that, things that feel like morally icky to some people, a lot of times they're like heavily taxed. Like I'm thinking about cannabis specifically, which gets heavily taxed, and then like those taxes are supposed to be doing some good, right? But it seems like with the whole sports betting thing, it was legalized, but then there was like no regulation to like
I
feed
think states are allowed to regulate how they want. So I do think some states,
are making use of that. Like the lottery as well. A lot of lottery money goes in where I live, goes into like environmental
Mhm.
stuff. So anyway, that
What are
was
they
just a
doing in the
thought.
Caribbean?
Exactly. What are they doing?
well, I think in the Caribbean,
Okay,
that's not taxed at
Caribbean.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed yucky and interesting because people are doing sports betting on F1.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I only really put that together this year that I'm like, I guess it would make sense to do it, and it's probably big, but it's not my people. So I
You
was
know
like,
what's crazy though
yeah.
is when I was watching the video, I was like, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. Why would anybody want to bet on football? And then I was thinking about F1, stake F1, and I was like, I can see how you would be into this, being like
Yeah.
thinking about how we play our F1 fantasy.
It's essentially F1 fantasy, but for money.
But for
Mhm.
money, I'm like, oh yeah, that could be really dangerous. I can
Yeah.
see that if you're like really into a sport
Yeah.
Or have an
I'm sur-
addiction,
or have an addiction problem.
gambling.
Mhm. I'm surprised John Oliver hasn't done a big piece on it. Or maybe he
Well,
has, and I just haven't seen.
Drew Gooden is essentially the John Oliver of YouTube.
I will not watch it, but thank you for the information. Again, not my people. Gambling
Watch it.
people. But
Thank you.
I
Drew
did,
Gooden's not a gambler.
whatever the
No.
topic. I'm just not,
Whatever the topic, he's not for me.
I'm not on his side. I'm not there. I'm there for I won't even go into it. Anyways, but this weekend I did swap out Franco because I'm like, he was hurt. This is too much risk. I switched him out for
Midweek?
no,
Are you
I
allowed
used
to do that
I
mid-race?
I did one of the chips before, and you can
Mhm.
before the actual race.
Oh.
And I switched it, and it wasn't. I don't
And
think
it didn't
Franco
help
did any
you.
better, but I did have Pierre, and that hurt me bad because he DNF'd.
That hurt me bad.
on multiple levels. So
Mm.
maybe I am a gambler. I'm really into my fantasy league.
You would be a gambler.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
pulling up
Drew,
the fantasy
look to your right,
ranking.
look to your left.
What?
Two of those people would be gamblers if they had the opportunity.
If they had the
I'm
opportunity.
coming to you, Drew.
You're lucky it's not legal where we live.
Yep.
Oh,
That's Vegas.
yeah. Congrats to Max. You deserve
And George
every-
Russell too.
Oh yeah. Whoops.
Shout out George. Way to go, baby.
I do always feel bad at the race when the world championship gets crowned. Like
Yeah,
Max was
yeah.
5th, and they were basically like, we're not really interested in the top 3. What's up with Max tonight?
Exactly. It
Yeah.
was, I mean, he was happy. He was Viva Las Vegas. That's what he was saying. And I honestly have become a fan of George. He's just there being silly. I like it.
Yeah, he's really silly.
It's also crazy that we've had 7 drivers this year that have had multiple race wins.
All I can hope is that next year is even crazier. I want to see a rookie win.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to see a fist fight on the track.
Yep.
I want to see
Mm.
Lewis in a championship fight.
Oh,
Honestly, Lewis in a really cheesy PR video for Shell.
Rochelle. Yeah.
bring it back.
I don't know what that contract looks like. Maybe because of who he is, he had a little more leverage on that contract, and some of that stuff's not
I
written.
know.
Maybe. We'll see.
Sure, he brings his own money too, different money. But Shell's big money.
Shell.
So, yeah.
I'm just gonna put this in there because the sphere was like, it's just
Reading everybody.
terrible. It's just like so obnoxious, but it was crazy during the qualifying when Checo didn't make it. And who did that? Who put his
An intern, a Gen Z intern.
Because I was like, was that timed?
I'm
What
surprised
was
it wasn't
happening?
I'm sorry to this man.
Stop. Yeah, so that was crazy.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw it live, Anne, but
I did. Well, not live, but I saw it.
yeah.
And it hurt.
Maybe he'll never do this again and it'll be used against him.
Why like they had to film him doing
I
it.
know,
I don't think that was
don't
an AI
understand.
video. It's conceivable that it was AI, but I don't think it was. They had to film him.
I think they just make
out
them
all the-
all do a bunch of different things.
So
So
what
Mhm.
context would this be good in?
And why was
you
it
probably
in
don't
the
think you're
mix?
doing it about yourself. You probably think you're doing it about someone else.
Yeah, but they
Yup.
put him in the mix and it's like used against him. That's
If
so
you're
rough.
ever doing promo material, think about what you're doing before you agree to doing it.
I agree. I think you're right. You're right.
The internet is forever. Checo.
That's a lesson.
For us.
Oh.
Oh,
Don't like that.
I don't like that.
They
Um,
don't like that.
Next week is
Qatar
Qatar.
Dad's a #1 in fantasy.
by a lot. Like
Really?
2 through 7 are pretty close, but Dad is up by several hundred points.
Several hundred.
He
Is
used
he
to
like
pick-
moneyballing this? What's happening?
Money balling.
He is on the
He's
Haas
gambling.
train, and Haas has been getting a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah.
Though I don't know how
Mhm.
Mom isn't
Yeah.
doing better because she's also
Well, Mom, I
Haas
think, missed
fan.
like the first 2 races. So that set her back.
I would do it.
I feel like people who are losing are the people who are like, I still have Danny on my team. So maybe
Who still has Danny on their team?
I don't know.
Oh, probably Mom.
They'll check. I didn't mean to shade your mom, but
I
I'm
mean,
just
to be
saying-
fair, I had K-Mag on my team for the
And he was
sprint
picked.
race and like sprint quality and sprint race because
Yeah.
I just didn't check my team and forgot that he was on there.
But speaking of, K-Mag was back this weekend.
Yes, he was. He's not, according to the conspiracy theorists, out for the
Dead.
rest of the season.
He's alive and well.
He's
Yeah.
alive.
That is mess
I saw his
around 2
face.
weeks ago.
Give
Just a
Kevin
classic
Magnuson,
FYA mess around.
give him some food poisoning from Chipotle.
Wait, okay, speaking of the
Send
FIA,
Nick and Winston in to give the FIA more ideas for their mess around.
There we go.
there's a new race director.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Any ad?
And Carlos and George both said they liked him, but I feel like when you've won a race, you are like, yeah, they did a great job. I'd like to hear what Oscar thinks. I actually wonder if the race director was changed because of the drivers' union.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I believe that more.
Because the
That's
race
it.
director
Good.
primarily, okay, you know when you're watching those old videos where they're like all sitting around in the room and being like, well, Checo did this, and is this going to be allowed? And that's a big yellow
Love
curb.
it.
The guy who's sitting at the front of the room
It's the
being
race
like,
director.
okay, this will be allowed, this won't be allowed, is the race director. So they were saying like they didn't feel like the last race director was very responsive to their concerns as drivers. But so far they think this race director is much more responsive because he was basically immediately like, oh, you don't like the pit lane exit? We can change it to be like this. Or like, oh, you think it's like the pit lane entry is weird? This is how we'll change it. And that's also, I don't know if you saw this. I am only paying attention to things that have to do with Carlos, but just kidding.
Not really.
There were a lot of people who were like, why didn't Carlos get a penalty?
Yeah.
But they had a discussion where they were like, that should be just considered track limits. And they were like, okay, it's track limits.
Well, that's positive that they
Yeah.
got change. I want to see more change. I
Yeah.
want to see more firings.
Mechanics union.
I want to see.
Mm.
Do you think that the mechanics are in a union?
I have no idea.
Like by team, I would assume.
Maybe, yeah. I would believe that.
Yeah, that's what I think. Team by team. Maybe position by position too. I don't know how specific it is.
I don't
But
know.
they're pulling some all-nighters. Bet it sucks to work at Williams right now.
The pictures of the mechanics' faces
Oh.
at Williams after Franco's
Franco.
crash.
Ruth in Brazil had a little like snippet that was like, actually, from experience, this is what we live for. We live like because there's so
Stop.
many crashes. So I'm like, okay, like I
She
believe
gets
her.
it.
And so I'm like, the Williams team, they're happy, yeah, right? Like
Stop.
they're excited.
The project.
But they live for the chaos. So maybe they're just fine.
I'm sure that's what's happening. Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited for next week.
Oh,
Guitar.
Guitar.
Thanksgiving race.
But
Hmm.
should be fun.
Should be lots of fun.
Thanksgiving race.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
American
Yeah.
tradition.
thanks for joining us, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends.
If you don't like the podcast, don't leave a comment. And bless you.
We love our vocal fry. Just for you. You know who you are. Okay, bye.
Thanks for making to the end of the episode.
Love you.
Bye.